Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Christine and today I want to talk about, are your female friends misogynists? The inspiration for this post is an incident that happened today. But first, let me tell you the background of the story. Last Saturday, an attorney emailed me about contract paralegal work. This old guy, I swear he has dementia, otherwise he's really an asshole for wasting so much time. He had previously ghosted me. This was in 2021. He later apologized for it, but it was like 3 months after the incident happened. The guy completely led me on about hiring me. So he was referred to me by a friend, and we'll call her Sarah. Now, I've known Sarah for a long time, over a decade. She's also a paralegal, and our relationship has deteriorated over the last 6 months. I started noticing things about her that I didn't like. She was judgmental, cold, kind of nasty, and really seemed like she enjoyed seeing me have a hard time. I used to vent to her, but I stopped a couple of months ago because of just how nasty things had gotten. Now, she wasn't like overtly nasty, right? It was like low key, covert, manipulative, that kind of backhanded comments and things like that. So I had realized that our friendship had become centered around me and the difficulties I was having after my mom died. Now, this attorney, we'll call him Joe, he spent several hours in 2021 interviewing me. We had a phone call, a Zoom call, several other long calls, and the guy told me he wanted to hire me for contract paralegal work. Contract paralegal work, as I'm using it here, I'm talking about project-based work. And then guess what? He disappeared. Sarah works in the same office where Joe is of counsel. That just means he's kind of like semi-retired. And then out of the blue last Saturday, Joe shows up again, emails me on a Saturday with a sob story about how his paralegal ghosted him, the one he hired instead of me. And he was playing the victim, wanting sympathy and, of course, free therapy. And he asked if I would help him out. I wrote him back and told him that we had talked previously and that I'd discuss it with him on Monday. Now, I recently wrote a manifesto for myself and my life, and I set some rules for myself about how I would engage with people in my business and in life generally moving forward. And one of those rules has to do with insisting on fair treatment by people in my business. That means a signed contract with lawyers and other people who hire me. Lawyers have been the worst for short-term project endings, and that's been a huge financial disruption. Now, let me just say this. All of the financial disruptions and financial harm that has been caused to me over the last 15 years has been caused by a man, and most of them are lawyers, but one of them also happens to be related to me, my brother. And I'm just sick of it. I'm just sick of short-term cancellations. And, I know lawyers think that, well, I'm a lawyer and I can just get out of it and I'll settle with her later or whatever. I mean, that's probably how they think. But Joe had forgotten that we talked before, and he proceeded to send me a bunch of time-wasting emails over the weekend. I mean, instead of going back through his own emails to find my resume and to recall what happened, he asked me to tell him the whole story. He sent me 2 emails on Sunday and then was supposed to call me at 1 o'clock on Monday, but he didn't call until 6 p.m. Then, just like he did in 2021, he asked me a whole bunch of questions, acted like the nice guy, and then represented that he wanted to hire me. Now, just to be clear, I asked him point blank if he was ready to move forward because I wanted to send him the agreement that we would both sign before moving forward. And I specifically mentioned that he didn't follow through on the previous occasion, and I didn't want there to be any more misunderstandings. I clearly told him that I expected that we would sign an independent contractor agreement that provided advance notice of termination of our relationship or the contract, a fair hourly rate, and setting some basic boundaries in our working relationship. And he said he didn't have a problem with that. He told me that he was ready, which was a lie, but that he needed lead counsel's approval, which was another lie because the paralegal works for him and not the lead attorney, but that he would be in touch on Wednesday to let me know one way or another. And so, do you think he called on Wednesday? Nope. Was I surprised? Nope. He did exactly what I expected him to do. He called on Thursday morning with a bunch of nice guy bullshit about how, oh, it's bad news for you, and that he hired someone else who was closer to his office and who had more experience, which was about bringing me down a few pegs. So basically, this guy was mad that I expected him to treat me fairly and that I called out his bad behavior and held him accountable. I mean, how dare a woman ask to be treated fairly? So I called him out again. I interrupted his nice guy, fake apologetic spiel and told him, lose my number and never call me again. This is the same thing you did the last time. You've wasted a lot of time with your false representations about your intentions, and the next time these people ghost you, don't call me. Never want to hear from you again. I hung up on him. But then, in case that wasn't clear enough, I sent him a follow-up email in writing to let him know that he was a massive time waster, that he'd lied twice about his intentions, and that I wasn't going to entertain his lies again. Then I blocked his phone number and his email address. So that was last Thursday. So today I texted Sarah, told her what happened, and guess what? She defended him. She said, well, he told me what happened. He didn't have any ill will, and I don't think you should have told him off. That was uncalled for. Now, why she chose to believe some guy who doesn't give a shit about her over a friendship of over a decade is beyond me. The pattern is right there. It's obvious, but she chose to ignore it. And we parted ways today. Now, this was not unexpected. I knew that this was probably coming, and I wasn't particularly upset about it, but it did seem like a good topic to write about. I've been watching a lot of female content creators about all the ways men abuse, manipulate, lie, damage, and cause harm to women, and this was a perfect example of a female friend who is a misogynist, who centers men, and by doing those things, she enables them and they are able to continue causing harm to other women. We have to stop centering men. Our financial stability, our livelihoods, our friends, and our community are all at risk when we continue to allow men to do these kinds of things. Now, I've stopped venting to people because all it does is prevent them from addressing their own shit. Instead, I write in my journal and I post blogs. The people who've been in my life up to this point have a vested interest in keeping me stuck. They want me to be a victim because it makes them feel better about themselves, and they feel like they can go on and continue ignoring their own trauma and their own fucked up situations that they're in because of the damage caused by men in their own lives. But there are people who do want to heal and people who are interested in hearing about these kind of situations, and you're here listening to this or reading it on the blog. The whole point of sharing these stories is to help other women see the patterns in their own life. These are pervasive patterns of things that men do, and women, most women, I would say, the majority of them all have the same kinds of stories about abuse, sexual assault, manipulation, lies, gaslighting, narcissism, harm, basically. And to be honest with you, I'm shocked. I'm a little shocked. I mean, it's easy for us to just blow it off and think, oh, men will be men. But when I really started listening to all the stories that women were talking about, and they seemed awful, awful similar to stuff that I had experienced. But I stopped dating I've stopped decentering men a while ago, primarily because dating was just a fruitless endeavor. And so most of my experiences are in the workplace. And so women who enable men like Joe are dangerous. Joe might not be a rapist, but he has shown a pattern of wasting women's time. Men like him believe they are entitled to waste women's time. They think they're entitled to us laughing at their stupid jokes, giving them free therapy, listening to their unresolved trauma stories, and all kinds of other things. And frankly, I'd argue that time wasting is just as dangerous as grape. It's financial sabotage. And I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely sick of financial sabotage. Every single man in my life has been abusive, harmful, or manipulative up to this point. And they've done a lot of harm to my female ancestors. The women in my family and most of my friends center men or enable them, and I just can't afford to keep digging out of financial holes because I believe what men tell me. I'm too old for that shit. Also, because men have and will continue to have a lot of issues with the patriarchy collapsing and women tapping out, they will start looking to women to help them solve their problems. Men should be helping other men with these problems. These are not problems that women should solve. As part of this ascension process, we're becoming aware of people in our lives who are holding us back or who would like to see us stuck. Many women are misogynists and they just don't even know it. If you're like me, you might be noticing that some of your female friends' lives are completely centered around men or that they are misogynists. Misogyny is passed through the women in our families. My own mom was horribly traumatized by the men in her family. She told me a story about her grandmother telling her that girls were useless, and my mom spent most of her life acting an awful lot like men, wearing men's clothes, cutting her hair short. And I can't help but think about all these male doctors that instead of helping women fix their hormonal imbalances, they cut out their uterus, which is kind of like making a woman into a man, removing her unique feminine body parts. So my mom spent most of her life as the cool girl, the tough girl, and the girl who just didn't put up with any shit. However, my mom would believe some random dude off the street over me, her college educated daughter, and the only person who really gave a shit about her. She allowed various male doctors to cut off body parts without asking any questions. Now, she didn't take care of herself, so that was the biggest part of the problem. She was rude to the female nurses and female doctors when she was in the hospital, but was always respectful toward male doctors. I could go on. You probably know someone like this, and if not, maybe you will after you read this. My mom centered and chased men. She chased the biggest losers, drug addicts, abusers, and she left me in an unsafe place where I was SA'd when I was a child. She spent most of her adult life with men who abused her like her father did, trying to get a man to just see her worth so that she could heal. Instead, she wound up further traumatized, sick, disabled, bitter, and nasty to the people who actually did care about her. Now, my stepmother did all the work in her relationship with my dad. She worked full-time, raised her son, me and my brother, and was my dad's henchman when it came to making sure I remained the scapegoat. There's some ancestral stuff going on with her too, but frankly, I have enough trauma in my own bloodline to deal with. But I recently ran into her at the grocery store and I asked her about these things, about whether she thought my dad married her for her career. You know, men want a nurse with a purse, and for free childcare. And she glossed over it and says she doesn't believe my dad is like that. Now, the funny thing is my mom told me all about that when my stepmother and my dad got married. She said that my dad had told her that he wanted somebody to take care of the kids. And, it's hard to believe my mom because there's always, stuff that was filtered through her unique filter, but I think she was right about that. And this brings me to another point, which is something I've noticed in myself, and that is a childlike naivety, toxic positivity, I guess. But women, we've been infantilized so much over the years that we believe men are telling the truth by default, even when there is ample evidence to the contrary. Don't you worry your pretty little head over that, little girl. That's not what happened. Your daddy is doing a great job and you just misunderstood. So we get gaslight as girls, and then we start to gaslight ourselves. So, one of the recent awarenesses I faced was that I was still trusting people the same way I did when I was a child. And I had a very upsetting realization that none of these people gave a shit about me after my mom called APS. I mean, I remember thinking, this bitch is coming for me and she does not care if I'm her daughter and the only person on this planet that gives a shit about her. I was allowing her and lots of other people to continue abusing me by giving them the benefit of the doubt and by not seeing things as they really were. Now, I can no longer ignore the problems with men. They're harmful and will continue to cause harm until they stop seeing women as a resource to exploit. And unless men are unpacking their programming as a result of the patriarchy, they'll continue to harm women. Every single man in my family has gaslit me or caused me harm. We have to start with decentering our fathers and our brothers. We have to stop believing what they tell us. And in the workplace, with our professions, we have to stop believing men want us to succeed. And we have to stop trusting them with our livelihoods. I can't tell you how many married male lawyers want to play footsie under the desk to manipulate you to stick around for their egos. They don't take your career seriously. It's important that we pay attention to and stop allowing these kind of men to distract and disrupt us because it undermines our financial stability. I used to be a pick-me chick, and if you don't know what that is, it's a woman who's so desperate to have a man, or a woman that centers men, that she will tolerate horrible behavior from men in a relationship or a situationship or at work. Now, I saw my mom doing that. My mom was a pick-me chick. I saw her chasing men, and so I just thought it was normal. It's taken a lot to undo all of that stuff, and I've realized recently my mom never had a chance. And if I'm being honest, if it were not for this evolutionary awakening process, I doubt I would have had a chance either. I would have been stuck in the same cycles as the women in my family. Thank God that this is ending. Women have been told for a long time that it's our fault that men treat us this way, but that narrative is falling apart. Women are done tolerating this kind of stuff from men. I know I'm done. I will take my career in business much more seriously from now on. And I'll share my manifesto with you in another post. Also, ladies, these men are not going to be here for us. If you get sick, your husband is going to move on. He's not going to take care of you. It's only other women that step up for women. And while I'm on the subject, I've been a terrible friend to other women in the past. I dumped a female friend after I got a boyfriend in my late 20s. So, in other words, I did the exact same thing that Sarah did to me, except the difference is, right, is that Sarah and I are almost 50 years old, and I did that in my 20s. So years later, I apologized and my friend forgave me, thank God. Her name is Ricky, and she is the OG man decenterer and a sarcastic badass Virgo. Thank you, Ricky, and I love you so much. And I also have to acknowledge several other women. I don't personally know these women. They're black women, and they make content on YouTube. And there's one white woman too, but these women have absolutely shaped my thinking on this topic. They don't owe me the emotional labor, but I am nevertheless grateful for it. So please check out these ladies on YouTube: Shira7, Bourbon Bougie, Jules Lowell, and Melanie Hamlet. And I'll put links in the description box for you to take a look at their content. Now, I hope this information has served you on your journey. If you need support, check out my services menu. You can also support my work via tithing through the Cash app at 1212 Energy, or sign up for a monthly $5 subscription here on the website. Thanks for watching, listening, liking, sharing, subscribing. I'm Christine, and I'll see you in the next video.